Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Old School Movie Review. It's been a long time since I made an episode of this, and it's not going to be quite a review this time. The only thing that it's got any connection to a movie would be, I'll explain that. Recently, actually about 10 minutes ago, I'm watching a lot of Fat Man Beyond on YouTube. Kevin Smith drew me to his channel with What's in the Box. I love that shit. It's so awesome to see him and Jason Mewes just opening. There could be anything in the box. I mean, anyway. Now I've started watching Fat Man Beyond and a little bit of his older stuff. Fat Man on Batman, that kind of thing. But I really like the chemistry between him and Mark Bernardin. Mark Bernardin is a pretty good writer in his own right. He wrote I don't really know what he's done in comics. I know just because I watched an episode today, and he flat out said he wrote a couple X-Men stories, one based on Nightcrawler, one based on what if Wolverine, because Wolverine can't get drunk because of his healing factor or whatever. So he wrote a story where he hooks up with this mutant that just dampens your powers. It's not. I don't think it was Leech because Leech just like mutes your powers, but it was a mutant similar, and they dampen his power, so he just gets wasted while he's around this mutant. I don't know what else happens in the story. It's a story I'd like to read because that sounds really interesting. Anyway, this is my tweet. If I was at a taping of Fat Man Beyond and got to ask that Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard a question, and I've thought about this, with Marvel's X-Men 5 years away, what would be your 7-member dream roster for the MCU inclusive X-Men be? Then Dreamcast at least 3. If there were more characters than 280, I'd be like, and also who's the villain and what's the trilogy? You know what I'm saying? And these are questions that I'm gonna personally answer right now for myself. And if I actually get responses from either one of them, I'll be like, coming in my pants, man. I mean, that's vulgar to say, but I feel like that's something Kevin Smith would say, so I just said it anyway. Uh, Now, you gotta understand that the 90s X-Men cartoon, I started watching it from the very beginning, and that's what got me into comics in general. I started buying up all the X-Men comics on the shelves in my local couple comic shops and things, and bought a shitload of the X-Men action figures. Hang on a second. Oh, shit. Where are they? Well, I can't. I thought I had one close at hand. Anyway, just wasted 10 seconds. Anyway, I got a lot of knowledge of X-Men. I read them all through the 90s. I bought up a lot of the 80s stuff. My oldest issue is 137 Uncanny. It's when the Dark Phoenix and the X-Men... Well, she's not dark at that time. She's kind of recovering. It's when the X-Men fight the Shi'ar warriors and decide the fate of Jean Grey, and then at the end, she dies. And maybe I'm remembering the cartoon, because I haven't actually read the comic in a long time. I think in the cartoon, like, she lives, she doesn't die in the cartoon. Each member of the X-Men gives up a small portion of their life essence, and she's allowed to live. But I think definitely in the comics, she dies, and in the very next issue, I also own that one, Cyclops leaves the X-Men. So, Cyclops and Jean Grey, or we can call her Phoenix or Marvel Girl, doesn't matter. I always thought it was weird that at the time I was reading the comics, she didn't have a code name. They just called her Jean Grey, like in the X-Men cartoon. I mean, that's the seminal thing that got me into X-Men, so that's what I'm always going to base everything on. And it wasn't a too far off shot from the comics themselves. If they had been allowed to keep going, I'm sure they would have done a lot of the great storylines left to do. I mean, there were so many other storylines they could have done on that show. But anyway, Cyclops, he's the fucking leader, and Comic Book Girl 19 agrees with me on this. Cyclops is so much cooler than his portrayal in the fucking movies. All of them. Like, he sucks so bad. In the first movie, that's like all the screen time he gets. He's seen being the leader. He's just a dick to Wolverine. That's basically his whole character, is that he's Jean Grey's beau, and he's the guy in the way of Wolverine from getting together with Jean Grey. But he's so much more. He's a leader. He's a strategist. He's fucking tactical. I mean, this guy. Go find his like Fleer X-Men Ultra 94 card, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about Cyclops. He needs to be done right, so he's definitely got to be in it. If he's in it, Jean Grey or Phoenix or Marvel Girl has to be in it, because, or maybe, yeah. I mean, what else is the point? And anyway, I'm looking at my walls. They're plastered with X-Men posters. I bought a X-Men poster book one day, and I just went to town, and I've also got Astonishing X-Men #4 cover just ripped off because I had 2 copies of that issue, and I really wanted Joe Madureiro's art on my wall, so I took one of the issues and ripped the cover off, posted it on my wall. I'll show you. Hang on a second. There, you can see. I've also got a Stephen King's 8x8 poster that cost me $8 on eBay. That was cool to buy. So I see these guys every single day, and then I'm like, they're not. X-Men is not so hot anymore because of the movies have been coming out. They've been stinkers. I still haven't watched Dark Phoenix. I can watch it anytime I want, but it's just like I don't really want to. I mean, I'm going to probably pretty soon. I still need to finish Spider-Man Far From Home. I watched half of it, and I was like, I can't waste the rest of this movie because I was drinking at the time, and I was like, I cannot be drunk when I watch this movie, so I saved the rest of it. So I've still got the second half of Far From Home to watch. I'm looking forward to that because apparently something really awesome happens at the end and makes you wish there was more right now. I don't know. That's what I heard. That's what I heard Kevin Smith say. Anyway, next, I've been sitting here thinking about this, looking at my walls, thinking, okay, either Jubilee or Kitty Pryde has to be in it. So far we've got Cyclops, Jean Grey, either Jubilee or Kitty Pryde. Jubilee because she was a main character on the cartoon, and I think a lot of people that like X-Men now or maybe got their start watching cartoons, so Jubilee would make sense. Kitty Pryde because she was the original Kitty Pryde. I mean, Jubilee came along and she was like Kitty Pryde 2.0, Wolverine's little sidekick. At least it's how she was on the show and in some of the comics I've read. So do you go with Kitty Pryde, who has more interesting powers than Jubilee? I mean, Jubilee shoots fireworks. I mean, I'm sure she's pretty much booked up on the 4th of July, and maybe on New Year's Eve. She's doing real well for herself in New York in New York City. Yeah, we're watching the ball drop, and they're like, "Okay, Jubilee, go! 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, Jubilee!" And then she probably makes millions of dollars doing that. I mean, that's what I think she should do. Anyway, so it's either got to be either one of them. And I gotta say, even though I have a lot of mad respect for Kitty Pryde and like her association with Days of Future Past and God Loves Man Kills, when Kitty and Pride of the X-Men, the original X-Men animation. Damn it, I lost my cherry. There it goes, it's burning my carpet. That's what happens when you use tobacco that's like 10 years old. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that. Kitty Pryde or Jubilee. So that's 3 members down. Does Wolverine have to be in this movie? I can almost guarantee you that Wolverine will be in the MCU. The reason why I'm making this video is because the MCU X-Men are coming out. I heard Kevin Feige or some shit say that don't expect an X-Men movie for about 5 years, so I'm counting down the years. 5 years from now, we're finally going to see X-Men done right. I am pretty confident in that. So why not talk about who should be in this movie right now? Maybe execs are listening. I mean, I get 3 views on all my videos. Maybe one of them's a Marvel executive, a Disney executive. I don't know. But should Wolverine be in the movie or not? He's definitely going to be. So, why fight it? That's number 4. Okay. Top 7 X-Men. Professor X doesn't count. He's the leader mentor. He's going to be in it. He's going to be bald, and he's going to be older than middle-aged. And he's going to be in a hovering wheelchair. Hang on a second. This is what I was trying to grab earlier. This is what Professor X is going to look like in the movie all the time. This thing hovers. And also, check this out. Oh, wait a second. Okay, he's still got one of his guns. He's got these little guns that come out of his little... Even though he could, like, mind wipe people and turn them into vegetables, he's got a couple guns. Check that out. Get away from me, Juggernaut! Oh, come here, dear stepbrother! No. Okay. So, that's what Professor X is going to look like. So he's going to be in it. Who else? Okay, we've got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine. I'm just trying to think, like, what the roster should be. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking like this. Maybe I should just be thinking about who my favorite X-Men are, but I kind of want to make a well-rounded roster. And, I don't think you can do that without Storm. She has never been done right in the movies. I like her in the cartoon, of course. I mean, she was like the wise fucking African goddess, and, visionary, you know? But, I think Storm's gotta be in it. We could get Forge as a sub-character, so that'd be something interesting. But, I mean, if Storm's gonna be in the MCU, then she's probably gonna be hooking up with Black Panther. So we got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus. He's already had so much success in Deadpool 1 and 2. Bring that exact same Colossus, but just give him his like red and yellow costume. And then we can get a proper fastball special, that kind of thing going on, and just bring back the Colossus from Deadpool. We got 1 slot left. Okay, we got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee or Kitty Pryde, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus. It'd be real easy. It'd be super fucking easy to say Nightcrawler. Oh my god. Oh my god. Nightcrawler. Okay, it's down to these 3. Nightcrawler, Beast, and Angel, or preferably Archangel. I mean, you need to have Angel first. And, did they make him Archangel in X-Men Apocalypse? Did he get... Oh, yeah. He lost because Nightcrawler fucked up his wings, and then he couldn't fly anymore, and then Apocalypse gave him new metal wings and made him Archangel. See, so that's a point against Angel. So, Beast or Nightcrawler? I gotta say Nightcrawler. Because when I look at X-Men, I see Nightcrawler and Colossus and Wolverine and Storm all together. And Beast, while he was more... Oh man, Beast. He's so well educated, man. You got Nightcrawler. He's a jokester, and he has faith in religion, that kind of thing. And then you have Beast, who's erudite and intellectual, and yet super strong. Okay, we don't need Beast because we have Colossus, okay? So that takes Beast out of it, because we already have Colossus. We don't need 2 giant hulking fucking CGI characters. So I gotta go with Nightcrawler. So the cast, my dream cast, My dream roster of X-Men the movie MCU is Cyclops, leader, tactician, interesting, tormented because he can't see without his special glasses. He sees the world in shades of red. Jean Grey, because if Cyclops is going to be there, I mean, this is a piss poor. We need to see more Jean Grey. And, I mean, do we want to do the Phoenix Saga for a third time? Some people might say maybe 10, 15 years down the line, yes, we need to do it right this time, involve the Shi'ar, involve Dark Phoenix, and make one movie where she's Phoenix helping things out, like in the cartoon at least. I'm not too familiar with the comics that old, like, but I mean, she could help restore the M'Kraan crystal, that kind of thing, in one movie, and then in the next one she's Dark Phoenix, and then we'll finally have a proper Dark Phoenix saga. So, Jean Grey, she's like Professor X's right-hand man, and again, maybe I'm just basing my knowledge on the 90s cartoon, but I think the cartoon really emulated the comic well, so anything you could say about the cartoon should probably be almost true or half true for the comics and these next movies going forward. And then you've got Jubilee or Kitty Pryde. I think we're gonna go Jubilee because she's just more fresh of a face. Although, like I said, second runner-up Kitty Pryde, who would have. I mean, we could just go really old school. Just make it the giant size X-Men roster. Get Sunfire and fucking Banshee in there. Fucking Thunderbird, and then Thunderbird can die. Although, he never died on, what was that damn show called? The X-Men show with fucking Bill from True Blood. Well, he never died on that show. He was in that show. Anyway. Okay, we've got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine. Just to appeal to the masses, I mean, I want these movies to be successful, and if Wolverine's not in them, I feel like they'd be less successful. Just don't make him the main character. Make Cyclops and Jean Grey the main characters. Or make Jubilee the main character, like they did kind of on the first Night of the Sentinels. I read this tweet on Twitter one time, not that long ago. Somebody was just like, if they just make a shot-for-shot remake of Night of the Sentinels, then I'll definitely pay money to see this movie. Something to that effect, and I would agree. Okay, so we got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine, Colossus, strongman, artist. He's already been in Deadpool, a couple movies of Deadpool, and that character is established, so he would be a link with all the people that are just Deadpool fans. They would go to see this movie because of Colossus. Okay, and then we've got, I forgot Storm. Storm, goddess, wise, also erudite, also spiritual. We could have a side thing with Black Panther going on, which happened in the comics. I think they got married. So Storm should be in this movie just because of the later connections they can make to the rest of the MCU, namely Black Panther. Then, okay, we got Cyclops, Jean Grey. I need to keep this thing straight in my mind, so that's why I keep repeating every single one. Sorry if that's taken up too much time. I just explained it, which is taking up more time. So, we've got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, and Nightcrawler. He's a jokester. He's German. He was in a circus in X2. He was on the Great Munich Circus, or whatever. And he's spiritual. We can have him connect with Storm, which he did in X2. I mean, this has all been done in X2. It hasn't all been done. That's the main point. It hasn't all been done. We have not seen any proper costumes on anyone, except for Psylocke. Apocalypse looked like shit. He should have been a digital character like Thanos, man. That's where they really made a mistake. If Apocalypse had been digital, and he could use his power to grow and shapeshift at all times, not just in the mind of Professor Xavier, then that movie would have been a lot better. Anyway, so that's the roster. It's like I said, maybe definitely Professor X is in it. He doesn't count in the 7, and he's gonna look like this. And Maybe Forge is there building some kind of. We'll do a little foreshadowing. He's building a time machine, or he just had the idea for a time machine, and it's going to take him some time to build it. And then, like I said, if I had more characters on Twitter, I would have said who would the villain be, and I still haven't thought that through all the way. Like, I really want to see a proper Age of Apocalypse. Like you need to set it up for a few movies beforehand. Like, I don't know if you do a whole Legion Quest movie, but you need to set up the death of Professor X has to be at the end of a movie, and then the post-credit sequence needs to be a bald, brown-robed bishop, like, crawling through the desert, and then he finds, like, Apocalypse's citadel or some shit, and he's like, what is this madness? So, I think another supporting character, he doesn't count in the 7, but I think Bishop needs to be in one of these movies. I really wish that they could just do Days of Future Past and include Bishop in the story like they did in the cartoon, like they did in the cartoon, like they did in the cartoon. The cartoon has all my brightest and best memories. So I really want these movies to be as similar to the cartoon as they can be. So we'll get Bishop in there, and we'll get Sentinels done properly. I mean, you saw a lot of X-Men fight Sentinels in Days of Future Past, but they were all the futuristic fucking phalanx from space that Joe Madureira came up with in the fucking 350s of, don't quote me on that, but in the 300s of Uncanny X-Men back in those days. They were the advanced form of the phalanx. That's what they look like to me anyway. That's what the Sentinels look like in Days of Future Past. And then they really didn't fight the classic looking, as close to classic as they came. The ones in the past, like Magneto runs tendrils of iron or whatever through all of them, or steel, and then he's able to control some of the Sentinels. But you never saw Wolverine run up and plunge his claws into the back of a Sentinel and cut its head off, or Beast like do a barrel roll into the ankle of a Sentinel and trip it, or like Iceman freeze the arms of a Sentinel, and then Colossus comes up and smashes the arms off, and the Sentinel's just like, oh, oh. You never saw any of that in Days of Future Past, and that really disappointed me. Although I will say that Days of Future Past was my favorite of all the X-Men movies they've made. Besides, I know Deadpool 1 and 2 are really good. I don't know. Days of Future Past was pretty good. So who will the villain be? Okay, first they do Days of Future Past right with Bishop. Then they do some kind of storyline, maybe with Legion and Magneto or something like that. Some kind of, and then you call it Legion Quest. I hate to say it, I own all the issues, but I don't remember exactly what happens in Legion Quest. Although I just know that Legion wanted to go. He wanted to kill Magneto, didn't he? But then he actually killed his father, and then that created the Age of Apocalypse timeline. So we'll do a movie. Okay, introduction movie where they fight Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Or you could do Executioner Song. Like, I'm thinking, like, if they keep Deadpool and Deadpool 2 in the continuity, let's say those are the first two Marvel MCU continuity locked in movies, you could do Executioner Song with Strife and Cable. Although, you need a lot of X-Men for that. Okay, you do some kind of introduction movie with Magneto and the Brotherhood. I mean, it's been done. We saw it in X-Men 1, X-Men Last Stand. We saw a Brotherhood, including a lot of evil mutants, some good ones that they just made evil for some reason, like Psylocke. And then the next one, Age of Apocalypse Part 1. Now, I mean, in the next one, okay, I need to get this straight in my mind again. Let me tell you, I've been smoking a little bit of the Chiba, so I just need to say it out loud again. For the first one, Magneto and the Brotherhood. Maybe Sentinels are also a small factor. Maybe that's why Magneto gets so upset, but then Magneto shows up and he can tear them apart, and then you've got him working with the X-Men already. So Legion Quest makes a lot more sense, because Magneto has already been seen as a good guy, and maybe that does make sense, because Legion wanted to kill him because he's a bad guy. Anyway, Brotherhood. X-Men 1, Brotherhood. X-Men 2, Days of Future Past, where the Sentinels from Brotherhood get out of control, create a terrible future, where the X-Men need to send Kitty Pryde. Maybe instead of Jubilee, we have Kitty Pryde in the movie. I mean, that makes more sense. And then Kitty Pryde can come back as an old woman in the body of her younger self, and we can do it pretty close to the comics. Then Legion Quest. Maybe you have another villain, like maybe they're in the Savage Land, and that's where Professor X has been hanging out. I don't know. Maybe also introduce Mr. Sinister, so it makes more sense when in Apocalypse, X-Men Age of Apocalypse Part 1, Sinister and Dark Beast and shit are there, and Cyclops is evil. And we turn everything on its head, and the only person that knows anything is Bishop from X-Men Days of Future Past MCU. And except he doesn't know what is going on because he has memories from the true timeline, but then he's in the Age of Apocalypse. So this cannot be settled in one movie. You need 2 movies. So maybe we save all this for even further down the line when X-Men's popularity is now at the level of Avengers, as it should be. And then we have X-Men Age of Apocalypse Part 1 and 2. Then you're gonna tell that I read comics in the 90s when I say this next movie. But listen, hear me out. Hear me out. Let me light this thing up. X-Men Onslaught is the 5th movie. Okay, we've already established Magneto, and we've established Professor X. They were like the main characters of the new movies, the newer movies. So, oh my god. Maybe then we do Fatal Attractions. No. We do X-Men Apocalypse. No, I mean X-Men Onslaught. And then, or maybe we do another movie. Maybe we do like the Phalanx Covenant, and or we could do Operation Zero Tolerance, and then we do X-Men Onslaught. And we'll need to hint at all the shit coming up. Oh man, we almost have to do Fatal Attractions, because that story is pivotal in, Fatal Attractions is where Onslaught's born. So maybe we have to do X-Men Fatal Attractions first. We definitely have to. Okay, Magneto just goes crazy, and the only way to stop him is to wipe his mind. So Professor X does something that has he sworn never to do this kind of thing? He really doesn't tamper, or maybe he does if you've read X-Men Legacy, and the rest of X-Men Onslaught, the whole Onslaught saga kind of put Professor X in a negative light, but it's something that needs to be done. So, in Fatal Attractions, Professor X mind wipes Magneto, and then Onslaught is born in the mind of Professor X, and then he starts to take over. And maybe Fatal Attractions is the very first movie. We've already seen Magneto versus Professor X. Maybe now in the MCU, he's just like fucking not taking any of it, and he just mind wipes Magneto, and then develops Onslaught. And then he could bring in the Fantastic. Well, hang on a second. You do X-Men Onslaught, after he's already been teased in post-credit sequences, and somehow you do that story where Juggernaut gets almost killed, and you can start making Juggernaut into more of a good guy like he was with Squid Boy, that kind of thing. Bring him in there, because each movie is going to develop more mutants beyond the original 7. So, you do X-Men Onslaught. Then, what comes after that in the comics continuity? Onslaught Marvel Universe. It's going to finally bring all these movies and all the MCU together, because Franklin Richards got to be there, right? So you bring in the Fantastic Four too, right? I used to have an Onslaught toy, and in the back of them, well, no, he came with the little Franklin Richards, and then in the back of Onslaught was like a bunch of black shit in Professor X's sunken in face. So, yeah, that's my dream roster. That's my plan. If I was in charge of all the X-Men movies, I'd throw these ideas out there, and then people would work with these ideas, I think. Anyway, if Kevin Smith or Mark Bernardin reply, I'll be super happy. If anyone replies, I'll be super happy. If I got a like, I'll be super happy. And if you have any ideas, what kind of X-Men do you want to see? Leave it in the comments below. Like, subscribe. I'm going to try and start doing more old school movie review episodes. This is just something I'm really passionate about. X-Men was like my main thing when I was 13 years old. It was before Dragon Ball Z, and it was after the real Ghostbusters. Right in the middle was the X-Men, and I read comic. My biggest, the thing that I own that is worth the most is probably my X-Men comic collection, because I have issues from all the way from 137 to past 400, and I went to the comic shop every day for a long time, for 3 or 4 years at least, and I had subscriptions. I read Extreme X-Men, Uncanny, X-Men Legacy, Exiles. I have almost the entire run of Exiles 1 through 100. I'm only missing one comic, like number 98 or some shit. And so, you could also do an Exiles movie! After the X-Men and everything has been established, I mean, maybe after this What If series comes to an end, or if it ever does, or maybe they could just do a series called What If, starring the Exiles. And the Exiles, it's like X-Men Sliders. If you remember the show Sliders, it had Quinn, Arturo, Rembrandt, and Wade going through portals to different universes that were similar to our own, but different in some weird, radical way. And this is what the show this is what the comic Exiles was like. You bring in Blink, Morph from the Age of Apocalypse, which he's gotta be in the Age of Apocalypse. Morph, man. Morph was like my favorite X-Men for a long time. I loved his overpowered card, even though he kind of sucked, but it was fun to play with Morph. Then you've got Sabretooth, Mimic, Nocturne, who is Nightcrawler's daughter, who has the same powers. And then you've got, I can't remember the guy, the first one, the guy in red with the long hair. He was like not Magneto's son. He was someone's son or some shit. Anyway, he died early on. And then you can just start a whole Exiles franchise, because every universe they go to is going to be different. This is how you bring back Tony Stark. This is how you bring back Robert Downey Jr. if he ever gets desperate enough to do another Marvel movie. Because they don't just have weird adventures pertaining to X-Men stories. They go through all kinds of crazy, like, the only thing I can think, it's like What If combined with Sliders. Like, what if Captain America went evil, or what if Dr. Doom ruled the world? I can't remember too much about it because it's been so long since I read them, but then you've got a fluctuating roster on that. I mean, you've got the Timekeeper or whatever, and the Talus telling them what their missions are. Then you've got characters dying and them being replaced, and then the people that died are in, like, the Time Chamber or some shit. It's been so long. Like, didn't they eventually meet up in the Timekeeper headquarters? And then, like, all the ones that had died were being in, like, cryostasis or some shit. Anyway, I've talked enough about this. I really hope someone watches this, and I'm able to influence these movies because I'm super enthusiastic about them, and I want them to be done right, and I want them to take the time to sow seeds in the early movies that will bloom into beautiful, beautiful plants and beautiful flowers in the movies that are like 10, 15, 20 years down the line. I want X-Men to be as popular as the Avengers, and it should be. Thanks for watching.